Okay, the time is now 6 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and start our regular session of the Tipp City Exempted Village Schools. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Stevens, will you please take the roll?
Mrs. Drum.
Here.
Mrs. McMurray.
Here.
Mrs. Dillard.
Here.
Mr. Mays.
Here.
Mr. Thompson is not present this evening, but we still have a quorum and can continue the meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. At this time, I would love a motion for approval of the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Maines. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Dillard. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Mays.
Yes.
Dillard.
Yes.
Drum.
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Superintendent's comments, second semester bullying report.
So it's our semi-annual report that we have to do by law. As you can see the numbers there. Obviously, we like those to be zero across the board, and we continue to work on making that occur.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So are these numbers reported by like the counselors or just in the district, or like how is it reported?
So these are actual verified incidents. So these would come through the disciplinary process. There may be things that get reported, but not verified. These are actual verified incidents.
Okay.
And that's part of the law. That's the language of the law that in the reporting process.
Okay. I'm just curious. Thank you. Any other discussion, questions? All right. Mr. Moran, building project update?
Nevin Coppic, I'll kind of go east to west and then north. Nevin Coppic, windows are being removed from the facility because of the glazing of those windows has asbestos. So that's why that needs to be taken out and not part of the regular demo. If you recall, last summer we had to redo the glazing at Broadway because that stuff was flaking and coming off. That's being done. They're abated probably 2/3 of it. You're getting close to that. The whole kindergarten wing is abated. They're working on abating the east-west wing, the first grade wing, and they'll getting to the kitchen gym area here soon. Demolition will start on June 7th. That's the anticipated.
July.
Excuse me, yes, July 7th. Thank you. Monday, July 7th is, and they think about a month for demolition. Did anything with the Burger King demolition was pretty fast. Hopefully this goes just as easy for everybody. On the west side of the tennis courts, you see work on the bus garage building parking lot is being done. Again, that's part of the process. We have an extension to actually include some other parts of that, but that's getting dirt away and getting that pad ready for the bus garage and the access road there coming in. That's going to be hopefully done with rough asphalt before school starts. That's the goal, and then the building will actually get erected in late September, October, and be completed in December. And that's when bus operations will fully move over to that new building.
So I was driving by Nevin last week, and this just popped into my head. It's not something I ever looked at on the design. So there's a number of pretty good-sized trees in the front yard. Are any of those going to be able to be preserved?
They're going to be detention ponds. That's going to be a big, like where Nevin Coppic is, the main office area is, just a little bit of the west of it. It's going to be a big retention pond. It's part of EPA requirements for drainage. a lot of drainage. So I think we're gonna try to keep some on the sides and stuff, and we might plant some, but that all has to be made into the detention pond.
That's why a lot of the new builds that you see everywhere, they have a little pond. Even there's
Yeah.
one on Peters, it's going up and it's got a little thing, it's
Yeah.
mandatory.
And there'll be one on the north side of the, where the middle school is now, LP Ball Light, there'll be, a pond there to the detention pond. And then the PK8, building, early site package is going out. We have a pre-bid meeting tomorrow morning for the site work on the PK8 area, and we'll start seeing questions that are out there, and hopefully in middle of July 11th, when the bids come back, and we'll start having some work there probably in late August, early September. So fencing will start getting expanded in different areas. But we're finalizing logistics for the area, and it's all going to work out. Just it's going to be tight, but we'll make it safe and create some unique areas. What questions might anybody have?
I already know this answer, but have you talked to the community of West Edge?
Yeah, we had a meeting earlier this month, and talked to the community about what concerns they may have, and how if they have some concerns to contact the school, contact me, and it went well. Wasn't sure how many people were attending, but it went well, and try to keep lines of communication open with that construction in the back there.
Okay. Any other questions? Moving on to lunch fees, Mr. Moran.
This is just information that they're going to keep the lunch fees the same as they were this past year. We have the lunch fees $3.25 for K-5, $3.50 for 612. Milk and adult prices will be kept the same.
I know I went to the grocery store yesterday and food prices are incredibly high right now. And to be hot, I mean, is this gonna cover everything? I don't wanna increase prices either, but I was very shocked at how high groceries were yesterday.
We think this will be sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at other things to enhance food service options
Okay,
as well.
good.
All right. Okay. Next
I got it.
Oh, thanks, Dave. I was going to get it. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, next is citizens' comments. Mrs. Kathy Bone.
Kathy Bone, you ready? You just asked the taxpayers to pay $88 million for a new school. You asked for 2 emergency levies, which passed along with the bond. The taxpayers in Tip City have been very good to this school district. The tax increment financing TIF agreement on the agenda is really disturbing. It covers over 74 acres of land of which Tip City doesn't want the school to collect 100% of the property taxes on it for 30 years. The land may be, according to the city, developed to include some retail, dining, or residential properties, possibly including condominiums, houses, or apartments. This is 74 plus acres of land for development. As I looked into some state reports about TIF zones in different cities and states, I found out that surrounding businesses and homeowners have not looked kindly at the business or homeowners in the TIF zones. Some cities have reported that the taxpayers of the surrounding area abutting the TIF zones have seen their property taxes go up as the area is developed and have held a real animosity toward those who have been shown favoritism by living or owning a business in the TIF zone. Some reports even go on to say the businesses in these TIF zones suffered financial losses, some very large, even going out of business, after other businesses, owners, and homeowners have found that people in the TIF zones are not responsible to pay their property taxes to support specifically the schools and other entities that rely on those property taxes. TIF zones were designed for development of blighted areas. While I may not disagree that the Plaza and the Flora Center were not ideal in their conditions, the city was not forced to buy these properties. These purchases were made for Tip City government's own benefit. There are hundreds of examples of government entities like Tip City using the application of a TIF agreement in many of the wrong ways. For example, as a slush fund for developers, or a secret budget, or even inappropriately redirecting the TIF funds. Reports are even suggesting the overuse of these TIF zones as overreach by the government entities. Considering that over 60 acres, the Long property specifically, is not blighted at all. As a matter of fact, it's a big, beautiful cornfield, which I know Tip City hates their farmers, but that's what it is right now. It definitely does not qualify to be in part of a TIF agreement. The city is definitely overreaching the boundaries of the meaning of the land associated with TIF zones and agreements. Also, this board should be concerned about the Ohio Budget, House Bill 96. And when signed by Governor DeWine, is going to have a huge impact on the school district and property taxes. This bill cuts into the school's money like no other bill we've ever seen before. The bill has passed the House, has passed the Senate, and as of 3 o'clock today, it's now in committee in the House and Senate as they are negotiating and working on amendments before finalizing it and sending it to the governor's office. There's also 14 other pieces of legislation in the Ohio House and Senate focused on cutting property taxes. If any of these bills pass in their current forms as written, the schools all across Ohio could lose hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. The property tax collection by this school district can and most likely will go down. By signing this agreement, you're stopping the flow of money into the school district from over 70 acres of whatever they decide to develop on this land. The TIF agreement will result in a loss of 100% of the revenue from property tax collection on 70 acres over a 30-year period. Property tax collection is the largest revenue source for the school district. Don't risk any financial stability the school district has on this TIF agreement. Don't take your taxpayers for granted. It's the taxpayers that put you in these seats. Those are the people you should be concerned about. It's the taxpayers that are going to wonder why you're letting people not pay for 30 years. The city could do this for 10 years, as they said, but they're not even going to be developing this land for at least 3 to who knows how long. So they didn't even mention the Flores property. Said 2 to 3 years maybe on the Long property. The Plaza, they're going to start piecemealing in 2028. So to me, this isn't a very good agreement. This goes against what the taxpayers have stood for. This goes against the taxpayers helping you fund this school district. I'm asking you, I don't think it'll work, but I'm asking you anyway to vote no tonight on this TIF agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is information reports. Miami Valley CTC meeting, Mr. Maines.
Yes, I was not able to attend this most recent meeting that we had. However, we do have another meeting coming up, which is considered our 2025 annual retreat. That's coming up this coming Saturday, and there'll be various things discussed. You have a copy of the minutes for the last meeting, so you can see that it's pretty standard with our new hires, resignations, our travel agenda approval, and so forth. But the breakfast meeting that we're having coming up this Saturday is a formal board meeting, and it's going to, we're going to discuss a wide agenda of information, and I'll update the board in this coming next month's meeting in terms of what all we did. But we're going to do financial comparisons over the past 5 years. We're going to talk about our student discipline trends, staffing changes, and a variety of other metrics. A portion of our time is going to be dedicated for reviewing a proposed 5-year strategic plan that we developed back in 24-25, and we will have to approve it as a board, and we will do that this Saturday. So that's what I have for you this month.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Maines. Any other committee reports?
So Tip Monroe Community Services did not have their meeting. They canceled this month, but I can report that Vacation in the Park is going well, and the Lunch on Us program, I got to volunteer with your daughter. Oh, yay! But about 150 meals every single day. So it's going really well, and Renee does a great job overseeing that, and so.
Awesome. Thank you. So I just wanted to say from TIP Educational Endowment, they had the end of the year celebration for the teachers, and Amy Blake and Heather Yunker were the teachers of the year for our district. I cannot remember who the Red Devil was.
Kevin.
Oh yeah, Kevin Davis. I should. Oh my gosh, duh, Mr. Davis. There was over 43 nominations overall from our district for those particular awards, so that was super exciting. And then I know Mr. Moran, he had awards this year as well for teachers. So I was unable to attend the last day because I had to do my other job, but I heard it was pretty awesome. So that's all I have on that. Any other reports? Okay. Treasurer's report. So monthly financial report, Mr. Stevens.
All right. We are 11 months down. We are in the home stretch. The kids are gone. Now we think we can all breathe. But no, I've been staring at numbers for days and days and days. I'm happy to report that as of May 31st, our financials, if you were to look on the last page, on page 6, you can see that everything is, for expenses, we are either at where we expect to be or below. We potentially might have other expenses go over for additional ESC services that we had for the year. However, I believe that the budget savings that we'll see in supplies and materials and purchase services, we can just move the money down into other services. I've been working on the draft budget for the temporary appropriations for the next fiscal year, which we'll see in a moment. But the budget that we'll see in the temporary appropriations will tie back directly to the to the 5-year forecast budget for next year. That's how it will start. That does not mean it's going to stay that way. But with the change, with the savings we will potentially have this year, we'll probably see adjustments to the 5-year forecast in the month of November, and we'll just play by ear for now. But we'll probably see some reductions. Revenues. If you look at the revenues right now. We are at 97.6% collected. That is higher than where we thought we would be. We have additional funds in interest that have come in. We also received a second Medicaid settlement payment. So we received funds in arrears. So we actually received funding from 2022 to 2023. I'm sorry, it was 21 and 22, the fiscal year 21-22, we got that at the beginning of the school year, and they just happened to finish the 22-23, so they released that at the end of this school year. We're still going to receive 23-24 next. I'm still expecting to see one every year. So just timing of payments. We missed one in the past to catch up for this year. Anyway, wasn't expecting that revenue to come through, so there was a bonus. The only thing to note, the only other thing I would note is under restricted grants and aid revenue, you can see that's the one number that's not catching up to the others. It's currently at 60%, and we've been saying we're waiting on our science of reading reimbursement from the state. So we trained teachers in the science of reading, and we were going to be reimbursed 100% for that. Well, I've learned that receipt will not be until July. So that $140,000 we were expecting, we're not going to get it until next fiscal year. So it is a timing of payment issue. And then our excess cost reimbursement from the state. So for the students that have, so for our students that cost more than what the state has provided for us, our special needs students, last year we received $100,000 in reimbursement. When we submitted $240,000 of expense, and they combined that with every school district in the state, and they said, okay, here's how much we can give to you. We received $100,000 last year. So it was about 40, I thought I made a note, it was about 45% reimbursed.
Well, this year, even more expenses were submitted, so we only got $70,000 of reimbursement. So it's $30,000 less than what I was expecting. But other than that, those losses have already been made up with the excess interest that we receive on our Star Ohio account. So overall, very happy with the finances at this time. I can't wait to see where we are at the end of June.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Oh, did anyone have any questions?
What is the Medicaid settlement?
So we provide services to students with OT and PT and speech, all of these things, and some of the students qualify as Medicaid recipients. And so we work with a group, HBS, Healthcare Billing Solutions, that will submit claims to Medicaid for the services that are being provided for those students. And so we receive small amounts every month throughout the year, but then there's a large settlement that occurs, and we are audited with that. We actually have an accounting firm that reviews our finances for the Medicaid services that are reported through HBS and the special and our Gifted Children's Exceptional Children's Program. And then we get a large reimbursement check. Our last payment for the 22-23 school was $140,000.
Yes? Okay. At this time, I would love a motion for the approval of the fiscal year 2025 final appropriations.
I move we approve.
What's the next one?
Oh,
Yeah, so I gotta do an emotion before
Sorry.
we can talk about it. You're fine.
see,
You're
that's
fine.
why I needed
Girl,
that
you're
code.
fine. You're fine. Mr. Mays has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Murray. All right, and then Mr. Stevens, would you like to take the floor?
Sure. So we did have some adjustments to our appropriations. The general fund was just an increase in the payroll expenses, which I explained last month because we had so many retirees and so we had so much get paid out in year end. So they retired as of 5/31 and they are not being paid throughout the summer like we normally see. So we had a lot of additional payments in June. So we increased our salary because of that. We have other increases in the building fund for the OFCC project that's occurring, and with the bus garage that's happening, we've had some more. We had to appropriate for the project that's ongoing. The cash is there and readily available. We just needed to officially appropriate it. We have some local grants that have come in our 019 fund, and then we also had some federal grant changes that were adjusted in our grant funds. So nothing out of the ordinary, and just moving on.
Any discussion, questions? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Meigs,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Dillard.
Yes.
All right, motion passes for the appropriations for fiscal year 2025. Okay, and then, I need a motion for approval for the fiscal year 2026 temporary appropriations.
So moved.
Moved
I'll
by Mr.
second.
Means. Okay. And seconded by Mrs. Dillard. And then, Mr. Stevens, would you like to take the floor?
As I mentioned earlier, these are the temporary appropriations. They're called temporary because we don't have to have final budgetary appropriations officially submitted to the county until September. So we can tweak this between now and then before we submit final. The general fund does tie back to the 5-year forecast for fiscal year 26. So whatever you see on the forecast for salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, those are the numbers that are currently in the budget. Our bond retirement fund matches our amortization schedules for debt that we owe. The 003 permanent improvement fund includes the OFCC transfer we have to do to Fund 34. That's a maintenance fund that we agreed that we would fund for the next 24, 25 years. We're using PI money for that. I have just put down an amount for 004, that's the building fund, and 010 for the OFCC projects and our local projects. Everything ties back to something. In our 200 and 300 funds, the only amounts that are being appropriated here are the amounts on the team budgets that I have received from the teams or from the student activity accounts that I've received. I did provide some funding for the athletic departments, but it all goes back. There's nothing in here that's out of the ordinary. And our $499 miscellaneous state grant fund, that $140,000 is the tech credit program. Right now, that is the only known state grant that we're going to have next year. I'm sure that we might receive an Attorney General safety grant as well, but our tech credit grant was increased. We went from $120,000 in reimbursement for providing training for our teachers to $140,000 next year is what we plan to do. So that's going to be 100% reimbursed by the state. So you can see that the dollar amount there is much lower than what we had in final appropriations. The final appropriations in 2025 do include transfers from the bond money that came in. Bond money was all required to go to Fund 4, and then we had to transfer money out to Fund 10. So that kind of inflates the expenses, but that's why we're less than half of what we are for next year. There's no transfers next year. Any questions on that?
So like the IDEA Part B grant,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big change there, it's possible that we will have those coming.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
The grant funding is not has not been confirmed for what we're going to receive next year.
Okay.
So I have not put that in there.
All
And once those grants are awarded, we will appropriate
Gotcha.
those funds.
Okay.
But we will still see IDEAB, Title I, Title II, Title IV. We're going to receive all those federal grants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Maines,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
Motion passes for the temporary appropriations for fiscal year 2026. Next is advances. Okay, I would need a motion to authorize the treasurer to advance funds from the general fund to local, state, and federal grant funds to cover any negative fund balances as of end of fiscal year June 30th, 2025, until reimbursement grant funds can be received from the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce or other grant services. And then the reimbursements are listed at the bottom, the expected reimbursements.
That's potential.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Moved by Mrs. McMurray, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Dillard. Did you want to go and take the floor, Mr. Stevens?
Oh, we have currently requested that $376,000 from local and state, from the state and federal grants. I've been waiting on those. If they come in before the end of the fiscal year, great. No advances will be needed. But if they don't make it in, I can't have a negative fund balance on the financial records per the state and the audit. So we'll have to advance money out, make those balances zero or close to zero, but they can't be negative. And then in July, once the reimbursements come in from the federal and the state, we just put the money back in the general fund.
It'd be great if they could align those reimbursements with the fiscal year.
Well, they got everybody in the state requesting money in June, so.
Takes a minute. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on the advances for the 2020, end of 2025 fiscal year.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next item of business is the consent agenda item. Under here is prior meeting minutes from May 20th, the work session, prior meeting minutes from May 20th, the library budget tax hearing, prior meeting minutes from the regular meeting, retirements for 25-26, resignations, new hires, contract corrections, ESY corrections, extended day contracts, summer training additions, summer camp sports instructor pay, marching band staff contract for the EPC and SNS food service, COR at Coors contract, overnight out-of-state trips, disposal of surplus property, TIP Foundation grant acceptance, Miami County Foundation grant acceptance, STEM donation acceptance, and cross-country program donations. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Moved by Mrs. Dillard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Maines. We don't need any discussion, so we'll proceed to vote.
Give me one moment. I
Okay.
see that one of these says that it's not a consent agenda item, but
Oh,
it is.
which one?
Yeah, the ESY correction
Okay.
states regular action. I'm going to fix that at the
Okay.
moment.
The donations and.
Oh,
vote
yeah,
them all
Go
in
for
step.
it. Yeah. Thank you for the donations always.
And thank you to the staff that are retiring as well.
Oh, yes. Fantastic. So,
All right, I am ready for that. And so who was the first and the second?
the first was Mrs. Dillard, and the second was Mr. Maines.
Okay, fantastic. I have that down. Thank you for your
Mhm.
patience. Are we ready for a vote?
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes,
Baines,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
All right, motion for the consent agenda passes. New business. First one is motion of approval to rescind the previously accepted resignations listed below and to reinstate their employment for the 25-26 school year. It's listed under public content. Do I have a first on the motion to rescind resignations?
I'll motion to rescind resignation.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes,
Drum,
Yes.
Baines.
Yes.
All right, motion for the rescinded resignations passed. These words are tripping me today. I need a motion to approve the Montgomery County Educational Services Center Foundation contract for the fiscal year 2026. Under public content, there is the contract listed, and then under executive, you'll see information as well.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Mr. Maines. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Dillard. Any discussion?
This is just the annual contract that we do with Montgomery County ESC. They provide services for hearing and audiology, occupational therapy. We do receive our 2 school psychs from the ESC. It's very important. And then we do have some students that will receive services through them as well.
Any other questions, discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Maines,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes,
Drum,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
All right, motion passes for the Montgomery County ESC contracts for fiscal year 2026. Next, I would love a motion for approval of the instructional service contract with the Midwest Regional ESC for instructional coaching in the amount not to exceed $140,907.07.
I'll motion.
Moved by Mrs. McMurray. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Dillard. Any discussion?
How does this compare with last year's contract? Pretty much the same?
Yeah, the same.
This is who we had to do it.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's not a different company.
we're actually one person less
Said
this
One
upcoming
person.
year
Well, that's not through the Midwest.
through Midwest Regional.
No, not through the Midwest.
It was?
No, it's the same people.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the same people.
Oh,
All right.
I thought we were filling that.
Well,
Somebody
somebody
else.
else won in the middle of the year.
Right.
So
Okay.
we didn't have it.
Gotcha.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes,
Drum,
Yes.
Baines.
Yes.
All right, next is the LT Ball rental chiller. I need a motion to approve, is it Weibel? Is that how you say it?
Weibel.
Thank you, Weibel, for an emergency use of a rental chiller at LT Ball that will work with our current systems or controls. This will provide a working system from May through October until we can get a new unit installed in the winter, spring of 2026.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dillard, and I'm just gonna go ahead and second it. And then is there any discussion?
So what's been going on the past week?
Well,
Mr.
it's-
Rand, would you like to?
So this
Yeah.
is the rental that we had in place at the end of the year. We're keeping it because there's no windows at LT Ball. We need to have those, be able to work in there. Obviously, it needs to be there. And then the expense to have them come, detach, take it away, bring it back, it just made sense to keep it this whole time in order to be prepared for the school year.
I missed the first and the second one.
Oh, that's all right. It was Mrs. Dillard and then myself.
And since we have to purchase a new one in the winter and spring, have those funds been identified or how much it might?
We have funding in the permanent improvement fund that can cover that purchase. And it's a big one.
Heating and air is needed though, so it's not something we can skim on, so. All right, is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
All right, motion for the LT Ball chiller passes. Next is a motion to approve Tip City to contract the Hearts of ABA to provide one-on-one aid services to students in our district for the 25-26 school year. And then under public content is the contract. Is there a motion for the Hearts of ABA to provide one-on-one aid to students?
I'll move.
Okay, moved by Mrs. McMurray. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Maines. And is there any discussion?
Yes, once again, my question is this who we used last year for the same?
Yes. For this particular student, yes.
I'm a student.
Okay,
It's a very great opportunity for this student.
okay, good.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
McMurray,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes,
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, next is I need a motion to approve the Tip City Schools to contract with Interpreters of the Deaf, oh my gosh, LLC to provide one-on-one aid services to a student in our district for the 25-26 school year.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dillard, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. McMurray. Any discussion?
Same group.
Okay. All right, hearing any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Dillard,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines.
yes,
All right, next is a motion to accept the revised project proposal for the level MB construction as an amendment to the Tip City Schools bus barn project contract. And then the addition is located in public content. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
And Mrs. McMurray, is there a second?
I'll second.
By Mrs. Dillard. Is there any discussion?
and my question is, when I go to the request for the change order, and I look at item 16, which is in red, is that the basis for this, this request? It says no extra silt fence is included.
That's part of it. This is the north parking lot. So the parking lot's straight south of LT Ball, north of the bus garage. It's making that into one so we can get logistics for traffic for next school year.
So this is an increase in our projected cost, our
Yes.
original cost?
Correct.
We had to do this part earlier, because this is right now, it should be part of the PK8 building project, but we have to get it done now as part of the bus garage. So we've talked with OFCC and we're just doing a switch. So we're gonna pay for it now, but it'll be credited
Okay.
on the project
All right,
later.
that's what I wanted.
Because it would have been paid for. We tried to see if OFCC could do the co-funding now, and they said we couldn't in the process. So this was the way we were recommended to do it. Do it with the level MB project now, and then get credit for it in the future for the project.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on the revised project for the bus garage.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines.
Yes,
All right, motion passes. Next is a motion for approval of the 2026 tax budget for the TIP City Library as presented at the tax budget meeting on April 22nd during the board meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Moved by Mr. Mays. Is there a second? I will second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Maines,
Yes,
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next is a motion for the science materials purchase. A motion for approval to purchase a 3-year supply of amplified science materials for grades 3 to 8. Is there a motion?
All motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, moved by Mrs. McMurray and seconded by Mr. Maines. Is there any discussion?
I'll just let the board know that we are purchasing the 3 through 8 materials earlier than what we normally would have, but we want to pilot this through for next year because we're supposed to be buying science materials next year, but we're going to buy it now. So we're pretty much robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we're just going to use some of the budget now instead of using it next year or the year after. So, and then we'll purchase the rest of the science materials as normal for the rest of the grades. This is at the request of the teachers and Mrs. Oh my gosh.
Scott.
Yes,
Scott.
Mrs. Scott. Don't tell her right. I
It's fine.
hesitated.
And these are state approved resources from my knowledge.
Yes.
In the summer, you see.
They're highly qualified.
Yeah, highly qualified, yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
McMurray,
Yes.
Maines,
Yes,
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum.
Yes, motion passes. Next is the motion for approval of a resolution related to Tip City TIF ordinance and revenue sharing agreement that was presented during our work session today. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, moved by Mr. Maines. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. McMurray. Any discussion?
I do. I think this is horrible timing. We thought that the budget would come out of committee today. I've been at my own office waiting for it to come out of committee, and it hasn't. And I do know that, and I have talked to Mr. Stevens, that if the current projection passes as it is, we're looking at a $3.3 million deficit for the district. We had to cut $2 million last year. If it goes through as is, that's a $3.3 million deficit. And I do know that House Bill 96 greatly impacts TIF agreements, almost diminishing what we would collect. And it's the timing. I mean, I cannot approve something when I don't know what our budget is going to be today. And I think it's wonderful, the plan, I think it's great, but I'm not a fortune teller to see what this budget that's gonna be approved. By June 30th, by July 1st, we'll know, because it'll be sent to Governor DeWine after it comes out of the House and Senate, but it makes me very nervous to vote on something when we don't know what the impact overall is going to be. That's just my feelings.
So can we table this agenda item to a future meeting?
Yes. As long as there's a second. Is there, or
Well, the only thing that comes
you'll
to
have to make a
mind
formal motion if you want to.
is that if that passes and we get that cut, then approving it today doesn't make any difference anyway. So, one way or the other, if you look at it, let's say optimistically, it's going to provide substantially more funds than what the current situation is, and the city is doing its best to try to improve that property over there. And for the community, in the purchase of the property on 571 and 25A, something other than just cornfields.
And I agree and I completely appreciate that. But if the budget comes out from the House and Senate and goes to the governor and gets approved as is, that money will greatly decrease and we will not see that money coming in.
Again, that means that it didn't make any difference anyways on voting. That's my opinion.
If they can't do, this is what I understand, if they can't do the project, nothing will happen.
Right.
Okay.
What's there right now, the tax funding, if House Bill 96 does not go through with cutting of the inside millage, the tax revenue will be the same no matter what.
Okay.
Right.
We will receive the few $1,000s that's there for the current farmland. We'll receive the money that's currently being brought in from the plaza. No project will move forward, which means there's no growth or expansion on those areas, so there is no increase in the property taxes.
Okay.
If the TIF is approved, they can work on moving forward. They did mention that the projects will be done at different times, so when one starts on this item, that's the start of the 30 year for that project. When the other one goes in, that's the start of that 30 year for that project. When the 30 years are up, we've still received the taxes that we should have received. We will see an increase in the taxes of 25% on all of the new growth that's occurred because it's not a 100% TIF. I believe it was a 75, 25.
Yeah.
So we will see 25% on everything that's moved in. Once the 30 years is up, it then goes to the 100%.
So it's paid off.
Or when it's paid off.
Right.
If it's paid off
Whatever
before
happens
30
first.
years, it's done. The TIP is redirecting the funds, 75% of potential tax revenue to the city to pay for the improvements that they pay for to make those projects happen. So as Rick is saying, it's not going to change the revenue we receive now. But to Mrs. McMurray's point, if inside millage is removed, there will be a loss no matter if there's a TIF or not.
I know.
On the current revenue, we will see a decrease. I am with Mrs. McMurray in waiting. We're just going to have to wait and see what comes out of the legislature's decision. And it's not just school districts. Inside millage being removed affects the county, it affects the cities, it affects all other groups that receive inside
Every
millage.
government, right?
Correct.
And
But
it's-
once again, as you said, if we don't do something at this point, they can't really move on. The city in terms of their potential. They can still move on.
They can do it
But they can
for
only
10
do-
years on
But
their own.
the
Right.
TIF 10-year TIFs will not provide the funding they need.
Right, so this is a way for us to benefit from what they're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
If the state takes all the funding away, it didn't make any difference anyway. That's what it boils down to.
Correct.
So I think that's where the confusion is, because in my mind, I'm thinking if they take away our property taxes, which is basically what we're getting off of this land, correct?
We receive a small, yes.
Okay.
It's the inside millage, which is 5.4 mils of inside millage.
And that's what they're talking about.
Right.
Getting rid of.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
That's in.
On these properties,
Okay.
the amount is very insignificant to the total of the 3.3 that would go away across the entire city.
got it, okay, I just wanna make sure I understood how it all kind of breaks down. I think that's the hardest part as like the person who doesn't deal with like all of these things every day. Like, it's sometimes hard for me to see how it's like broken down into the smaller parts, right?
Yeah, we will still receive some property taxes if inside millage goes away, we will still receive some property taxes on all of the parcels in the city. And if it doesn't go away, then it's the same amount that we got last year, if not a little bit higher because of inflation and the valuation of the district, or of the city.
Okay, but the percentage would stay the same no matter what, so even if we got less, they would get less too, correct?
Yes, because then they're not paying, if the inside millage goes away, that's a direct savings to the taxpayer.
Okay.
Right into their pocket of not having to pay inside millage.
I just wanted to make sure that
And
it
that-
balanced out.
Our budget.
Yeah.
Yes, which I
Yeah.
understand that too.
Yeah.
Okay,
So would the city, if we table the agenda item to next month, would it hurt the city? Like, do they need to jump on this right away, or would it be okay for us to take more time to understand all of this?
Well, our next board meeting would be 3 weeks from now because this meeting was pushed a week back. I'm not sure what they're looking at timing wise. Aaron, do you recall if there was a deadline that they were trying to meet?
I know it was on this meeting for approval. I haven't asked for the deadline. Of that.
So can you explain one more time, if we approve this and if the inside millage is taken away, decrease in property taxes, how does it not? I'm not even thinking about the plaza necessarily, I'm thinking about the new land. So that would, we just.
The farmland?
Yeah,
So I think,
$605.
yeah,
Yeah.
$605 on the farmland.
okay,
Take it down take it down a quarter of what that is.
Right.
So, $450. We've lost $150 because of the inside millage loss, if the TIF is approved. But if we do lose the inside millage and we do construct on that farmland, we would still receive property taxes on the new construction on that, which would be on that area going from the farmland to a commercial zoning area. It would be much, much more than what's there.
And might
right
it be more enticing to developers, because if the taxes are lowered by the state,
Well,
if the taxes are removed by the state, I forget what you called this millage, the baseline millage, but anyway, would that make the properties more enticing to investors?
They still have to pay for the infrastructure.
yeah. And honestly, with the loss of inside millage, that actually changes the tax valuation of what would be collected. So that would go down. And so I'm not sure what that does on the timing of the city's projects. They're looking at 30 years to recapture the revenue to pay for the infrastructure. But if our inside millage goes down, that's 5.4 mils that is not being collected on any of the new, on the project. So. And the city as well, again, they're hit by this inside millage loss.
Absolutely.
I believe it was.
the county, everything,
Between 500,000 and 600,000, and then I think the county was 8 million.
8 million.
But I'm sure that they knew about all of this legislature too.
Well, this is coming out, this has all happened in the past few weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
this came out of the Senate. This came out of the Senate when they presented their budget. And then amendments were proposed, but it stayed. And so now it's in committee. And so we're waiting for it to come out of committee. And then it goes, and then the House votes, and the Senate votes, and then it goes to the governor. And all he can do is line item veto.
and this is my opinion on this, I expect a lot of lawsuits to occur
I
if they remove inside millage.
I do too.
So
I agree.
this is going to be a hill that people die on.
Would it ever come to a public vote, like on the ballot?
Well, I think I mentioned previously that there was a petition that went around and got enough signatures to place an item on the November state ballot for the elimination of property taxes altogether.
Oh, yeah.
So you talk about cutting legs out from somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know what would happen after that. But
And once again, if that would happen, it didn't make any difference what we did anyways.
this resolution would remove 30 years of 25% of property tax, 75% of property tax collections on facilities that would not exist if we didn't pass it anyway.
Okay. This budget has
Oh, yes.
It's
been giving me a headache for the last 3 months.
Yeah, it's stressful.
So.
Mhm.
Okay.
No, it doesn't hurt to pass it.
okay. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
Maines,
Yes.
McMurray,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Dillard.
Yes.
All right, motion passes for TIF. All right, at this time, we will adjourn to executive session for purposes authorized under Board of Education Policy 0166 and ORC 121.22G1 to consider the compensation of public employees or officials. No official action will follow the executive session. Do I have a motion to go to executive session?
I'll move that we go to executive session.
Moved by Mrs. Dillard,
I'll second.
second by Ms. McMurray. Any discussion? All right, we'll vote.
Dillard,
Yes?
McMurray,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
Maines.
Yes.
The time is now 6:57 and we're heading to executive session. Yes, we're ready. Okay, the time is now 8:18, and we are out of executive session, and there is no action. Let's see. Our next meeting, our next work session and regular board meeting is July 15th, 2025. The work session will begin at 5 p.m. and the regular meeting will begin at 6 p.m. here at the board office. At this time, I would love a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All motion.
Moved by Mrs. McMurray,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Dillard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote.
McMurray,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Drum,
Yes.
and Mr. Maines left previously.
Yes. The time is now 8:19 and the